So, one of the survivors of the Southport stabbing by Axel Rudikabana back in August has decided to come out and call for kitchen knives to be blunt tipped. And in many ways, I can kind of understand where she's coming from. Because one of the problems of the Southport massacre is just how helpless everyone feels. What can you do when someone who probably shouldn't be here decides, I've had enough of the people around me? And be clear, Axel Rudikabana was motivated by anti-white hatred. He explicitly said so himself. Well, when that person decides to go on a mass stabbing of children and the dance teacher who was hosting the Taylor Swift themed dance class, what can you do? It's easy to feel powerless in the face of this, and nobody likes to feel powerless. I mean, as I recall, she was defending the kids herself, so she is absolutely a hero. But there's not an answer that is an easy one to be had. And saying, well, what if kitchen knives are just blunt tipped? Well, that's just going to mean that I can't open things with the knives in my kitchen now. That's not going to prevent more massacres. Because, of course, it doesn't require a knife to be sharp for it to be dangerous, obviously, even if it's blunt tipped. I mean, what prevents the guy from sharpening it himself? What prevents him from manually doing this? What prevents him from using a screwdriver or something else, or a blunt object, a rock? What prevents any of it? The answer is nothing. The problem was never, up until this point, the kitchen knives. The problem is the person with the tool. Because a kitchen knife isn't a weapon, it's just a tool. And it turns out that any tool, really, can be used to become a deadly weapon because tools are often heavy or sharp or have some function that our mere hands don't. And even then, is there anything stopping him from murdering them with his bare hands? Probably not. And so I completely understand the desire for something to be done, but making it so that people basically can't use knives to do the actual things we use knives for probably isn't the answer. Anyway, she had an interview with Sky News, and she said that, I mean, she was nearly killed in this. So again, I want to make it clear that I'm very sympathetic to her. I totally understand why she would want something to be done. She says, when I'm maybe with friends or family and they're cooking away and we're having a conversation, I've noticed I'm worried about what they're doing rather than listening. Because she says that she doesn't feel safe around kitchen knives now, and totally understand. She says that kitchen knives have become a trigger for feelings of hypervigilance she has experienced since the attack. When this idea about the blunt-tipped knives came in, I just thought, this is a no-brainer. I don't understand why our kitchen isn't safer in the first place. Well, and again, I want to be very, very kind towards her because I think she deserves it. But the kitchen wasn't the dangerous thing. I mean, he ordered the knife off Amazon or something, if I recall correctly. He didn't just take it from his kitchen. And it wasn't their kitchens that was the source of the problem. The issue didn't happen in a kitchen. And it wasn't by accident. This was a premeditated attack by a violent psychopath who genuinely hated the white people around him and wanted to cause as much horror as he could. And he would just find another way of doing that. The problem isn't the knives. I mean, when I was growing up, I'd never heard of a knife attack. It just had never happened, as far as I was aware. The problem is the intention of the people we've brought here to live with us. And it turns out that many of them don't have good intent. Many of them are actually not kind people. It was revealed the other day, well, 3 weeks ago now, that there are 150 stabbings a day in England and Wales. A day. Again, I mean, when I was young, you just never heard of a stabbing. No one carried knives. It wasn't normal. And yet now, it's not only a daily occurrence, but it's a daily occurrence to the tune of 3 figures. It's just 150 kids stabbing each other, probably mostly. And it's just what happens in Britain now, in England and Wales. Like, being concerned about the knives isn't going to solve the problem. And again, they'll just find some other way to hurt each other. The issue is, why are the stabbings happening in the first place? We can't just say, right, okay, If they can be disarmed and rendered helpless, then they are now good people, they are now safe to be around. Because again, it doesn't just require a knife to kill you. Like, you can be killed in any... What happens when one of them does something like they do in Germany or France or Holland and get in a car? There's a reason we have the bollards of peace, the bollards of diversity and inclusion outside London Bridge and various other places, at Christmas markets and stuff like this. There's a reason that we've had to change the way that we live our lives. And sorry, I just don't think that blunt tip knives are going to solve the problem. Again, anyone can get in a car and use a ton of moving metal to run people down and kill them. This is not going to make the world a safer place. The kitchen doesn't become safer if you blunt the knives. The kitchen is only safe when the people in it don't want to murder one another. And so, what can you do? Well, you've got to ask yourself, why are there so many people around who want to murder us? Why is this the case? Why are young people going off the rails? I mean, this is another point that I have come to recently, is we give people, especially young people, just far too much freedom, actually. I don't think they need that much freedom, because they're kind of living in a kind of state of nature on, like, London council estates and stuff, where the community isn't very well policed, because of course that would be racist. And so they're kind of left to fend for themselves, and they're kind of degenerating into tribal areas that have boundaries, like, chimpanzees and wolves and things, where it's like, oh, you've been caught in the wrong postcode, and so a gang of lads will come and try and stab you. It's like, okay, that's not good, and we don't want that to be the case, right? We don't want it to be that people get involved in, like, turf wars in our inner cities and get stabbed. And yet this happens all the time. Again, 150 stabbings a day. Like, this is mad. This is absolutely mad. And again, you can feel the helplessness of, like, okay, well, can we blunt the knives? Well, let's assume we did, right? How many knives are there in England and Wales? There's going to be tens of millions already existing. How is it that we're going to prevent them from getting hold of knives? How is it we're going to prevent other sharp objects from falling into their hands? Again, if knives don't work, they'll just find something else. And if that doesn't work, they'll make their own. You can make a sharp implement that you could use to stab someone if you really wanted to. Are we going to, like, ban angle grinders and, like, any files, and knife sharpeners, any tool that could be conceivably used to make a stabbing implement, so that the youth of today don't go around stabbing each other to the tune of 150 a day, so that terror attacks can't happen? It's not possible for us to do this, and it's not the right reaction to this. I mean, they say the Let's Be Blunt campaign hopes to shift public attitudes and change behaviours, with Lucas comparing it to other public health initiatives like the indoor smoking ban. We just want to form that education. We want to bring the awareness to light. Again, I can completely see the noble motives behind it, but this is just not going to work, and it's not going to be the answer. And like I said, I completely empathise. But it's the intent. It's the reason that the people here have been let here to stew without being just allowed to just go free, go and act as ever you want to act, and then we will just pick up the pieces afterwards. And that's assuming it's not just someone who nurses a grievance against the majority of the population and decides, I'm going to go kill a bunch of kids today. There's nothing we can do about that. At least not directly like this. That's a much deeper issue that we are miles away from being able to solve. And what are we going to do? Like a company saying, well, we've been selling blunt tip knives since 2020 alongside more traditional pointed knives. That's great. But the owner's like, look, knife crime is a complex issue and a complex societal issue. Our products won't change that, but we believe the design might make simple steps to dramatically improve safety. I doubt it. The thing is, people are just going to find the sharp objects. They're not going to buy the blunt ones. Idris Elba can call for a ban on pointed kitchen knives all he wants. But again, the issue is that really just stems from powerlessness. And all you're doing is punishing the law-abiding people who are not stabbing people because a minority of lunatics are. That doesn't solve the problem. The problem is, why are these people being so poorly raised and allowed to operate in such a culture that carrying a knife becomes necessary for them and using it becomes an everyday occurrence? Like, do these people need the unlimited freedom that we're giving them? Because if this is the product of it, maybe we ought to rethink that.